Well, we're back again for day 18 of the reading of Carmen's legacy leading up to Christmas Day. And today I've got some people to point out to you. There's Carmen and there's Jasmine. There was 18 months difference in their age. Carmen and Jasmine again. And I'll point out down here on the back of these racing silks it says Carmen's Racing Syndicate. And you'll learn more about it as I read chapter 10 called Carmen's Racing Syndicate. And it's written by our second youngest daughter, Jasmine. 2.5 months before we lost Carmen, a feisty little chestnut filly was born at home. Unfortunately, this foal didn't get a lot of attention early on. We were still reeling from the loss of Carmen, so there wasn't a lot of interest in this new addition. Little did we know that this filly would become something of a superstar and play an enormous part in our recovery as a family following Carmen's death. Dad decided soon after we lost Carmen that we should name the filly Carmen. The foals always get a paddock name, and this one was never up for debate. As the filly grew, we were amazed at how similar she was to her namesake. High-spirited was how Dad liked to refer to her. 2 years after Carmen's accident, it came time to submit Carmen's race names to the Harness Racing Board. We always loved doing this with Dad and always had fun trying to come up with smart or simply ridiculous names for the list. The list of names had Dad's first preference on top as Carmen Leah, Leah being Carmen's middle name, and he was thrilled when it came back as her confirmed racing name. Not long after Carmen Leah's name had been confirmed, we had a family get-together at home with the Millers. Mum's brother Huey and his wife Sandra had 4 girls, and we were all similar ages. We had spent so much time with the Miller girls growing up, nights at the trots, loads of school holiday swaps, horse trail rides and memorable outings to the movies. This weekend was significant for another reason. It was the night Dad sat the 7 of us girls down and asked if we would like to race Carmen Leah together. Dad had already spent time with Carmen Leah breaking her in, and he was confident that she had enough ability to pay her way. We initially laughed, thinking there would be no way we could afford our own horse. But after some discussion around likely training costs and what we might need to contribute as an initial start-up cost, we were soon confident that we could do it. And with that, Carmen's Racing Syndicate was born. Dad suggested we give Carmen Leah to a young Bendigo trainer by the name of Graham McDermott. He lived not far from where Mum and Dad were and was already training another one of Dad's paces. I'm not sure if Graham knew what he was getting himself into when he accepted Carmen Leah into his stable. Not only did he take on a high-spirited filly with rather bad manners, but he took on a group of 7 young women who would follow him to race meetings all over Victoria. Graham had his own little posse. Carmen Leah's first race was on the 20th of November 1998, 3 years and 2 days after we had lost Carmen. She raced with a key tag attached to her breastplate. Inside were 2 photos of Carmen. Dad had had these made up years earlier, and everyone who knew Carmen had one of these on their car keys. Dad described Carmen Leah's first couple of starts as abject failures, as she finished close to last. Graham's one-on-one care soon saw a change in her behaviour, and we were hopeful that she might eventually be put in a race where she could finish somewhere near the front. Her next couple of races were in the El Dorado series at Moonee Valley, which would see her race against horses who had already earned $100,000 in prize money or more. She ran 8th in her first heat and was last in her second heat, but we were all pretty happy that she had at least handled herself a little better than her previous runs. Carmen Leah's next start was back at Moonee Valley, but this time it was for maiden 3-year-olds, a race for 3-year-olds that had not yet won a race. It was much easier than her previous couple of races. It was the 9th of August 1999, and only her 5th start. It was a Monday, so Michelle and I decided to take the day off work and attend the race meeting. Graham was a man of a few words, but he was hopeful that Carmen Leah would put in a better showing for us. And she didn't disappoint. I'm not sure if there had ever been a maiden win met with such elation. Carmen Leah crossed the line in first place, and Michelle and I were jumping, screaming, crying and hugging each other. In addition to our Wild Reactions trackside, there were Carmen Leah connections all over the country, listening in and watching on pay TV. I know there were plenty of tears shed for Carmen that day. And this was just what we needed. It was great for our family. Carmen was back in her lives in the form of a horse. Carmen Leah's story and why her maiden win had created such a fuss. I remember having a conversation in the tea room with my colleagues in Horsham about Carmen Leah's win, and recall one of the staff members saying, "Gee, you must really like gambling. It's just a horse." I didn't react. I simply replied, "She is so much more than just a horse." Thank you for listening to more of our journey. And as you can tell, it's becoming a little bit exciting because we had a pretty nifty little horse on our hands. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And thanks for joining me today.